In this video, I'm going to show you how I built these wings and harness for my Gryphon fursuit. I will also show you what I did when things didn't go according to plan. Hi, I'm Kazul and welcome to my lair. Now, I'm so excited that I'm finally building these suits that I showed you my plans for building in the last video. So let me catch you up on my progress. I decided to start with one of the more challenging parts of my suit, and that is the very large wings for my Gryphon. I wanted them to be huge, and they're much bigger than any wings that I've built in the past. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I started with an idea that I came to find out was actually pretty terrible. But I was excited to be building and try this new technique, so I decided to spend a bunch of time and try it anyways. But despite the lost time and stuff, I found that it was a good reminder for me for the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And I'm going to show you all of my stupid idea regardless, and then kind of summarize why it was a bad idea and what I did to fix that. So the origin of the idea came from the Stan Winston School of Character Arts when I learned about effects corsets. So essentially it's just a utility corset that an actor can wear underneath their costumes, even their street clothes, that you can attach effects to. For example, if your actor gets shot by an arrow and you need a shot with the arrow poking out of them and they're walking around and doing stuff, you can mount your arrow shaft to a metal plate and then sew that metal plate to the effects corset, and then it's really stable. It like moves with their body, and it's a super slim and secure mounting mechanism. And ever since I learned about that, it's something that I've wanted to try. But corsets take a very specific set of skills to build that I haven't developed yet. And they also take some specialized materials that can kind of be pricey, and I wanted to use what I had on hand and some cheaper stuff. So you can see that my idea, I tried to make it my own with my own materials, and it just didn't work. So hopefully you'll just learn from something from showing my mistakes. Let's get into it. So here's the vest that I started making. I started with a, it's called a sauna vest on Amazon. You're supposed to wear it while you exercise to promote sweating, to promote weight loss. I don't know anything about those claims, but what it is just a really nice neoprene vest that is very comfy and fit me very well. So that's why I liked it. I figured like the part where it's supposed to be promoting sweating and increasing your body heat while exercising. I figure that wouldn't be a problem in costume since you're already drenched in sweat anyways. So I just decided to go with this. Now, I did make some modifications to it, which I kind of lost the footage of me actually doing it because I was terribly smart with my SD card, but that's okay. I'll just explain it. I always have a problem where the over-the-shoulder straps are too long, so I just shortened those. But here was the main modification that I made, was to the back where I intended to hang the mounting structure for the wings, is I attached a bunch of Velcro. Now, I agonized for a couple days over which side of the Velcro I should put on the vest, and I eventually opted to put the hook side, the scratchy side, on the vest because I didn't want any scratchiness pointing into my body and making it uncomfortable. So that's what I did, and you'll notice like I've only sewed it down in key areas. That's because this is a stretchy material and the Velcro is not. So I put it on my dummy, which I'll put it back on my dummy so you can see how it fits in a sec. pinned it down with safety pins, and then just sewed where those safety pins were at the right measurements. So anywhere where the vest was stretching, like it still fits me when it's on me versus off. And that's why there's like these little loops of Velcro. So here it is on the dummy. You can see like there's not a whole lot of bubbling anymore because it's stretched out, but you can still put your fingers in it. But this is how it looks. And that's basically all I made, just sewed Velcro to this vest. The next part is I needed to build like a hardened surface to mount the wings into. So the idea kind of evolved from some wings that I built for some dragons in around 2014-ish. And what I did is I just built them like a small Warbler back plate and made little holes for Delrin rod to stick down into. And it was really effective. The Delrin rod held out the wings. It was a very solid base for them. It made it like fun to wiggle the wings around. It was a very good system. So I just wanted to take that and evolve that, and you will see as I build up this base, like just how I do it. Throughout this build, I really wanted to use mostly materials that I had on hand. So looking back in my stock, I had this 0.375 inch diameter acetal rod, which you could also call Delrin rod, thicker than I used on the dragons, but these wings are going to be bigger than the dragons anyways. So I had this, and I noticed that it fit pretty perfectly inside a 1/2 inch PVC pipe that I had. So I decided to use this Delrin rod for the wings and the PVC pipe for the receptacle that the wings fit inside. But I needed a base to attach them to. And I almost forgot about this failure. I decided I wanted to get all fancy because I have a laser cutter and some extra acrylic lying around. So I'm like, oh, why don't I just like draw the design on my computer and cut it out and, you know, use the acrylic to make this really nice base. There was several problems with the acrylic. First of all, I don't actually know if it would have been strong enough in the first place. But I didn't even get to that point because there was other problems. First of all, bending acrylic I found was really difficult. I couldn't get it into the shape. It required a ton more heat than, you know, a thermoplastic would. And it just was a beast. I was like wrestling it for so long, like an entire night. I was wrestling with it, trying to get it bent into the right place. I'm using like random things from my workroom to bend it into shape, but it never did. But all that work was for naught anyway, because the sections, this is so embarrassing, the section of PVC pipe and the amount of rod that I wanted sticking in it, it wouldn't come apart with the spacing that I had. You see, I had those little holes drilled. I wanted to just zip tie the PVC in place. So, but that it totally didn't work. So I decided to scrap it and start over again. And when I started over again, I decided to go with a thicker thickness of a EVA 70. So I went with a more dense EVA foam and thicker. I think this was 6 millimeter. And it also took a lot of heat to bend. And you see, I'm like really trying, like bending it over my knee, heat shaping it. But it was worth it. With how tough the EVA 70 is, you really need to heat shape it before you glue it at all. I had that glue seam right down the middle of the back and some, wings that would go over the shoulder. And so the plan was that the Velcro would hold it on, and just that little bit over the shoulder would add like a little bit more support to it. Then I covered that in some Wonderflex that I had. Now, Wonderflex is a thermoplastic that has a mesh impregnated inside it, so it's supposed to be more structural. I had purchased some but never used any on a project, so I'm like, okay, I'll use it up on this project. It was that this is probably like the biggest piece that I'd covered in thermoplastic, and it was kind of difficult, but just keep reheating it up and wrestling out those bubbles and trying your best, and I was able to manage getting it all covered. I decided to add an extra layer of Wonderflex to the back of the panel, like where the wings and the PVC would attach to, just because I felt like it probably needed a little bit more support there. When it came to attaching the PVC pipes, I made sure to place them in an orientation that would allow me to pull out both segments of the Delrin rod. So I lost a little bit more footage here of me bending the Delrin rod into shape. I basically drew the pattern, the wing shape that I needed on the computer and printed it out so that I'd have a reference. And you just like slowly heat up the rod, twisting it around with your heat gun, and then you can bend it into place. Now with thinner Delrin rod, it's a lot easier to bend. With this thicker stuff, it took a ton more heat and it took much longer to cool down. So one trick I came up with is having like a turkey baster full of water next to me. So when I heated it up enough to get it bent into the right shape, I'd hold it in place and hurry and put a few drops of water on it to help cool it faster so that it'll hold its shape. I don't know, that probably like weakens the plastic in some way, but not a noticeable amount enough for me to worry about it. So when I had the two segments bent into the right shape, I wanted to attach them together. So I decided to do that with zip ties, and I used a Dremel to kind of flatten the two edges of the Delrin rod that would meet together to give them a little bit more of a stable connection point, and then also Dremeled little grooves for the zip ties to sit in so that they wouldn't shift around at all. Then for some reinforcement, I just wrapped the that join in a little bit more Wonderflex. I chose this shape for the wings because it seemed to have like a good amount of support and kind of mimicked nature, the shape of what a wing kind of feels like to me. So that's why I chose this particular shape. Now for the wing mounts, I just have them sort of temporary right now as I was getting like the final shape of the wings and everything, making sure that things could move and stuff, but they definitely needed some more reinforcement. And I switched over to using some Warbler here because it is easy to squish up your Warbler scraps into a putty almost when you heat it up, and it's really nice for sculpting around an edge. So with that little test, I decided one of the wings needed a little bit of an adjustment to the shape. So like I said, just spend some time heating it up over the heat gun and it does take a long time because it is quite thick plastic, but just heat it up, then bend it into shape and use a turkey baster to cool it down real quick so you don't have to hold it forever. It was at this point that I had to take a break for several months from building these wings. I didn't even get a test wearing them, yet because I hadn't attached the Velcro to the part yet. Just, life gets in the way, and I was taken away from the project for quite a while. So when I finally got back to working on it, I didn't really feel like recording anything. I just wanted to work. But I made some changes and then took this little test video, mostly for myself. That's why it's not in the correct orientation. But this one really solidified the choices I make that I'll explain now. So now just to kind of explain why this system, this is future me. So this is already done to the very end, but just to talk about the Velcro, just why this system ended up not really working. For one, it was very hard to get this placed correctly on the back. So to get it placed exactly, straight and where I needed it for the wings to be even, it was just, it was really hard for some reason. Also, once it was on there, it was extremely hard to remove. Now, I at least have this preconceived notion all the time that Velcro is one of the weaker attachment things you can use for cosplay. So I'm okay, it's a lesser one than any other kind of connection, but Velcro can definitely kick butt, and I definitely overdid it with how many Velcro things I had here, and it that wasn't attached very strongly, but when I was wearing it for my tests and had the weight of the wings on it, pushing it into the vest and it got fully connected, man, it was a beast to take off. I almost fell over as my husband was ripping it off my back. So probably too many Velcro pieces here, to be honest, but also not enough. So when I had the straps coming up over the shoulders, I had a hard time getting them placed correctly, and they just ended up being uncomfortable. So I cut those off. And then this didn't seem like it was enough weight to hold the wings themselves. So that's why I went with the straps instead. And then you just completely eliminate the need for the Velcro, which Velcro is the strongest along the shear axis. So side to side, if you had two pieces of Velcro, they're very strong this way, but they're the weakest this way. Magnets are the opposite. They're very weak this way and very strong this way. That's why, you have to slide some of the stronger magnets apart because that's their weakest connection point. Anyways, so that's kind of the point that I abandoned this, is I'm okay, the straps are doing just a well enough job holding this on my body. This is just a completely unnecessary thing now. So that's how this project went. So as cool as this idea was to me at the beginning, it's just I don't know, a lot of extra work for no reason, a lot of extra material for no reason. It didn't do anything that I wanted it to do, and it'll just be, maybe I'll take the Velcro off and repurpose this vest for something else, but for this project, not planning on using it at all. And after finally being happy with the fit of the base, I decided to flesh out the wings just a little bit more. I simply took the sculpture of the wings that I had made and put them on my overhead projector, put some paper up on the wall, and traced the shape of the wing. Then I traced out some simpler shapes for the top, kind of what would be the front edge of the wing. Now, if you know how wings work, you know how that's a thicker edge than than the tips of the wings. So I wanted to kind of show that and just kind of build up some bulk there to make the wings nice and shapely and not just flat things. I decided to use the leftover L300 foam that I made the Goatman horns out of for this part. The L300 is nice and squishy, very low density, so it's lighter than EVA and was perfect for this application. And one more detail I forgot to show is these little Warbler loops that I created. A very simple design, but has been very sturdy for me in the past. And you just thread your 2-inch nylon webbing, which I have a whole bunch of this stuff on hand with all these connectors because it's so useful to just build harnesses like this. Anyway, just thread it through and you have a nice adjustable connection point. So I wanted to show you these wings all together and kind of give my overview of the thoughts of the final design. So the base is about 2 pounds, a couple ounces. And it's very comfortable. Now these soft Velcro strips that I have on the back from my failure, I think I'll actually leave them there because they add a little bit of padding and some air channels that may be helpful. If not, I can just go through and try to slowly rip them off. They're pretty stuck on there, so it won't be pleasant ripping them off. So I think I'll just leave them there until they cause a problem. But at this stage, I'm able to put the wings in and put this on by myself. When I'm in the full costume, I won't be able to do that, but I wanted to show you. So take the wing part, reach in on this side where it has those slots and fit in the bottom one and the top one, and it stays there. So you do that to both. Back up a little, then you just swing it on. So I find this very comfortable. A lot of the weight is right here around my midsection, which is good. All these straps are adjustable, so I can play around with them as I please. And like if I want to wear something different underneath, like some cooling packs, I can adjust for those and adjust the tightness to fit. But they're pretty sturdy. If I jump up and down, they won't pop out of the holes. Like, even if I swing them wildly, they're not coming out. You would have to grab them and lift them up and I don't know, they're still pretty sturdy. So adding the foam, yes, definitely restricted the movement, but I think they have a pretty good range now. Narrow enough that if I push them back, you know, that'll help me get through doors. But I can like put them out their full width to enjoy some awesome pictures. And I can also, you know, puppet them around a bit, you know, move back and forward slightly to get a flapping motion. So I think they'll be really fun. I'm hoping that I'll keep about this much motion in the final one. We'll see. It probably will get more restricted, but they'll also get heavier, so they'll want to swing more. I don't know how that'll play out. I'll just have to see. But overall, very comfortable. The wings will get heavier, I know, but I think that the weight being balanced around my body is very good and will be super comfortable, and I'm really excited for how big they'll be. So thank you so much for watching my progress. I'm calling the wing base done for now. I know there'll be some adjustments I make down the road, but for now it's done. I want to move on to the body padding and the head base, just to get everything done to the pre-furring stage so I can make sure to keep everything proportional before adding the fur and fabric and stuff. So that's all for today. I'm Kazul, reminding you to embrace your inner beast.